So great to see all this fellowship. So grateful for the space we have to share together, and so grateful that it's so nice and cool on a hot day. I invite you to stand as you're able and join us in singing, I Start My Day. As Joan brings forward the Christ light, please join us in singing Living Light.
Hello. My name is Linda, and I'm your platform assistant today. We welcome you to Unity of Salem in the same warm and loving spirit with which Jesus greeted his friends. We greet you knowing that no one is here by accident or coincidence. We are each an essential part of the energy that is Unity of Salem. Right where you are along your life path on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here.
Good morning. You know, we joked around some about how cool it is in here. If you think about 5 years ago, we didn't have these air conditioning units. Isn't it amazing how far we've come in 5 years? It's pretty exciting. Let's join together in prayer. Sweet Spirit. We come together in gratitude, yes, for these air conditioning units for this day, for the technology to support us as we come together in spiritual community here in the sanctuary as we gather online. And we know beyond any sense of distance, of space, of time, that right here and right now we are one. We are one in community. And for this opportunity to come together, we give thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Amen. We would like to especially welcome anyone who's joining us for the first time. I know that would not be here in the sanctuary, but that would be someone online. Know that we are honored to have you connect with us today, and we look forward to maybe one day meeting you here in the sanctuary. And if there's information you would like to have about Unity of Salem, you can find it on our website, unityofsalem.com, or give the office a call during the week. We would be honored to send you some more information or to have a conversation with you. Welcome.
And I have a few announcements to share. Would you be willing to be a greeter one Sunday a month? Please check in with Clay or call Trish in the office about joining the team. We are in the process of updating our online directory. If you would like to be listed, please fill out the form in the Information Center. If you have questions about your directory listing, or maybe you'd like some help with a new photo, please contact Trish in the office. We've kicked off our back to school drive. We are once again working with the Boys and Girls Club to provide supplies to students in Salem Kaiser. The barrel will be here through the first weekend in September. Are you certified in any modality of energy healing? Reverend Patty would love to talk with you about being part of our healing circle on August 11th. Interested in more information about our community activities? You can sign up on our website or in the Information Center to receive our weekly email. Our prayer chaplain for today is Reverend Patty. She will be available for one-on-one prayer on our sun porch immediately after today's service. And let's join together now and sing Om Shanti.
Shanti means peace. It comes from the Sanskrit language, and it's often prayed or chanted by our brothers and sisters that practice the Hindu faith as a daily ritual or before a sacred reading or a religious ritual. And the Om is that sound of oneness and that original sound. So Shanti together, translated as I am peace, or my path, or my original path is peace. So as we sing this together, I just invite you to hold that peace within and just to send that peace out into our world.
Shanti, Om Shanti, Om
And now we join together in affirming the Unity of Salem mission statement. Unity of Salem nurtures spiritual growth in an inclusive, loving community. And our vision statement, centered in spirit, we create a world of unlimited peace, love, and joy. And our core values, inclusiveness, spirit-led, compassion, love, joy, and integrity. And I now invite Joan up to share our reading for today.
The word for today is world peace. And our affirmation, I am a peaceful presence in the world. I contribute to world peace by affirming that people can live peacefully with each other, honoring and respecting their differences. Mahatma Gandhi said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." I hold this teaching in my heart as I focus on peace for everyone. A vision of world peace guides my thoughts and actions. As I walk a peaceful path in looking for loving solutions to any challenge, my intentions radiate to others, extending the possibility of peace. Peace emanates from my heart. It begins in me and flows out into my world, contributing to global harmony. I become the peace I wish to see in the world. From Ephesians 6:15, as shoes for your feet, put on whatever will make you ready to proclaim the gospel of peace.
To hold us all.
That song cannot help but move us into an experience of beholding peace. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. So you've heard a little bit about where we're headed today. Obviously, we are focused on unity and Hinduism. And before I talk about what that means, I am feeling called to kind of rearrange what I was going to say. And Joshua, our friend, would like to be introduced first. Would you mind coming up and doing that?
Hi there, I'm Joshua, and this is Hanuman here. He is one of the gods of the Hindu pantheon. He is sitting on the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of Hindus' main cultural texts. He's wearing two malas, one of the quartz crystal for Parvati, the divine feminine, and a Rudraksha mala, which is the divine masculine for Shiva. He is known for his absolute 100% courage, no fear in him whatsoever, and also 100% devotion to his god, Rama. The stories about him are all, he will do absolutely everything and anything for his god. So that is why he himself became a god. So with that, I will give back to Patty.
Thank you, Joshua. And Joshua brought this from his home to share with us today. So we're a month into our journey through this book, Unity and World Religions. And we've been looking at various religions through the lens of Reverend Paul John Roach, and through the lens of knowing that there is a perennial philosophy. There is a truth that is expressing through all of these religions that we are focused on and looking for that commonality. So we started off with Christianity, then Judaism, then Islam, and today we have Hinduism, which is maybe, and I've said something similar every week, but I think this is probably the largest stretch for me to talk about with you. It is so outside of what we know. It's outside of what I have experienced, though it's possibly the third largest religion in the world. And I'm looking around the room going, I know there's several of you in this room that have had much more experience with this religion than I have, and maybe next time it's you that's going to come up here and speak. So keep in mind this perennial philosophy, that thread of universal truths or commonality that weave their way through these religions, and that we are looking at trying to find examples of the 5 basic teachings in unity as universal truths that show up in all of these religions. So there is not a definitive answer as to the age of Hinduism. I just want us to know that to start off with. I found various ideas. Most say that it began to take form in the valley of the Indus River in India. I'm looking for a date. There it is. It's not known. That area is now known as Pakistan, by the way. Around 2500 BCE is what most scholars think. However, there are some say that a precursor existed among India, the pre-Aryan peoples, back in 5000 BCE. So it's been around a while. It's been around quite a long time. And talk about variety. Oh my goodness gracious. There are at least 6 main Hindu schools of theology. Now, we've been talking about 2 in many of the others that we've covered. And I could not count. It's just not possible to count how many different sects there are, sects, there are within the Hindu tradition. And then when it comes to text, there's a number of them. So most can be traced back to the 4 Vedas, Most of the texts have a lineage that goes back to the four Vedas, which is a collection of texts that was the oral tradition recorded in ancient Sanskrit, probably sometime between 1500 and 500 BCE. And some of the texts include the Bhagavad Gita, which I always say wrong. I leave a syllable out in the middle. I just realized as I said it. The Brahmanas, the Upanishads, and can be these big epics that are known as the Ramayana and I practiced all of these words because I knew today was going to be interesting. The Mahabharata, which you can see lots of plays and things that have evolved out of these two epic stories. And one of them is about, the stories in there is about the god Rama, who our friend is so devoted to. What stands out to most people about Hinduism is the number of gods. Anybody want to care to guess how many gods? Over 33 million.
I was going to say infinite.
Yeah. An infinite number there. But what most people don't get about this pantheon of gods, and this is quoting Paul directly from this book, fundamentally each is but a facet of the one true God. This is encapsulated in the phrase, God is formless but takes many forms, from the Hindu mystic Ramakrishna. God is formless but takes many forms. And something else to keep in mind is the term Hinduism itself, which we use to describe this set of teachings, that word didn't exist until the 19th century from a Western perspective. That was a name we actually gave to these teachings. The Indian people prefer Sanatana Dharma, which means, if it translated, the eternal way, or eternal truth. And it sounds very similar to when we talked about the early Christians following the way. That would be a very similar, they would have an understanding of what that meant. According to Paul, the eternal way is eclectic and multidimensional. So this is going to be really interesting. I had to just delve into what is it I need to share today. Not what can I share, because, oh my gosh, there is a lot that we can learn about our friends. So much so I'm sitting here going, where do I go to from here? Do I go where I thought I was going to go? And yes, I think I will. And that's getting on to looking at our perennial philosophy. This idea in unity that there is one presence and one power. How does that show up? Well, like I've already said, it shows up as a huge pantheon of gods and goddesses that are all facets of the one presence and one power. I used to love going to the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art in Kansas City. They have an entire section of these amazing Hindu gods that they dance. Shiva dances from that room. It's amazing. And you can feel the energy. And we've all seen these depictions throughout our culture. And not just by people who practice Hinduism. This is Joshua's piece of this religion that has become part of his spiritual path, his spiritual journey. So there are actually three dominant deities, which made me think Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I thought that was rather interesting. And these three dominant deities each have, female cohorts or consorts. But they are Brahma, which is the creator god, Vishnu, the sustainer and preserver, and Shiva, the god of destruction and transformation. These are the three most dominant deities that we find. And there's many of us are also aware of Ganesh. Ganesh shows up quite a bit in our culture. The elephant head, which the remover of obstacles, is how I have defined that particular God in my life. Vishnu also has the distinction of providing avatars to guide people. And these avatars quite frequently become gods, such as Rama. Rama and his wife, Krishna, who we heard about when we met our friend. And I'm going to try to say it, Josh. And Hanuman? Hanuman. Okay, thank you. So let me read this from Paul. All these gods are aspects of the Godhead Brahman, who is ultimate transcendence. Although these gods have many seemingly human characteristics and are portrayed vividly as larger-than-life characters, they are, in fact, archetypes of truths inherent within creation and within our consciousness. Their image and qualities can provide portals by which we can commune with the divine in us. From a unity perspective, each god is a divine idea, illuminating one or more aspects of God's infinite power. Oh, we may have a lot more in common with our Hindu brothers and sisters than we realized. And aside from that, Paul notes as a thing in his book about the statue of Shiva that I just thought was really cool, in the form of where he is dancing in the world. And what he does is dances the world in and out of existence. This form of Shiva is actually standing at the entrance of the particle accelerator in Switzerland. Isn't that cool? That made me tingle. We are so connected and finding this unity in our diversity. So here, I've kind of given you a broad perspective that is really in line with the perennial philosophy. And I could delve into all sorts of different aspects which would take us out of that context. But what we're focused on right now in this series is finding our unity in diversity. We're focused on finding that energy that we have in common. So let's just move on to our second principle. The idea that there is a spark of divinity within all. You see this affirmed over and over and over again in Hinduism. The soul, Atman, the soul, the Spirit of God expressing through form. And all beings have a spark expressing through them in varying degrees. Sound familiar? It's that Christ light, that essence, expressing in, through, and as us. And a key concept is the ultimate goal, which is to achieve freedom or enlightenment that comes about when we release ourselves from the attachment to the illusory, to the illusion, to the illusory world around us, and renounce its power over us, and experience total joy and generosity of spirit. I'm right there. I am right there in alignment with our brothers and sisters. That's the goal. We have it in our mission and vision statement. Unlimited peace, love, and joy. What is that if it's not enlightenment? And while there are many schools of thought within this tradition, it's very clear that unity's third principle, which is, the creative power of thought, is alive and well in Hindu teachings. As Paul says, it's very clear that we reap what we sow. And when I say Paul, I'm not talking about the apostle, I'm talking about this guy right here. Our thoughts can be used to free us or enslave us. Through Hindu scripture, we are encouraged to move in the direction of those that free us into a more expansive experience that leads to oneness. From the Bhagavad Gita, He who in oneness of love loves me in whatever he sees. Wherever this man may live, in truth, this man lives in me. Let me say that again. He who in oneness of love loves me in whatever he sees. Wherever this man may live, in truth, this man lives in me. I hear in this that righteousness or right thinking that we have been talking about through the other traditions, especially in Judaism and Christianity. In Hinduism, it's called Dharma. And in unity, we tend to affirm that it has to do with divine order and being in alignment with divine order. Well, again, according to Paul, Dharma extends from the divine order of the One through the establishment of just laws and codes of conduct for the community, all the way to correct duties for each person in their everyday lives. So we must all strive in our everyday life to be in right relationship to the One. Well, that's very similar to how we described righteousness as right thinking that is in alignment with expressing the One in our lives. That if we want to experience peace, harmony, wholeness, oneness, we must be in alignment with the One. And it's all linked together with 4 goals in life throughout these teachings, the stages of life, the caste system. It's every aspect of Hinduism I came across in my reading is all linked together with this idea, much of which we could go down, and we would go down our path of differences and not our path of what we have in common. So we're not going to go there today. But though there are certain aspects that in the heydays of the Beatles and some of the energy of the 60s and some of the 70s that were appropriated by Western culture that I think maybe we ought to go down and talk about, because they're ideas which greatly influenced the theology of Charles Fillmore, one of our co-founders here in Unity. And one is the idea of karma, which we'll probably talk about next week, because we're going to head into some Buddhism, and it's going to show up there too. And right along with karma for Charles Fillmore would be reincarnation. Karma is difficult to define. We all think we know what it is, but there are so many schools of thought, and they do not all agree with each other. Though I will say everything I found defines it as a direct impact of cause and effect. Let's read this. In one of the earlier Upanishads, it says this, and I'm not even going to try to read the name of this Upanishad. If you want to know, I'll show it to you. Well, okay, I'll try. Brihadaranyaka. That just was awful. But it reads this way in the translation. Now, as a man is like this or like that, according as he acts and according as he behaves, so will he be. A man of good acts will become good. A man of bad acts, bad. He becomes pure by pure deeds, bad by bad deeds. And here they say that a person consists of desires. And as is his desire, so is his will. And as is his will, so is his deed. And whatever deed he does, that he will reap. Sound familiar? As we sow, so shall we reap. Our thoughts, our actions impact our lives. And it plays out over time, over and over and over again. And some might say over several lifetimes, depending upon what school of thought you come from. Another gift that Hinduism brought to the Western culture is yoga. Yoga didn't just grow up here in the U.S. it came from a spiritual practice in Hinduism. And along with it, a whole treasure, what Paul calls a treasure house of prayer and meditation practices. You can see that represented by these beautiful beads that we have. This is right in alignment with our fourth principle in unity, identifying prayer and meditation as the highest vibrations of thought and as the tools we use to align our mind with divine mind, to align our thoughts with God, to create the kingdom of heaven here on earth. And the number of yoga systems out there there's too immense there's no way I can articulate even one school of thought and capture what all of yoga is about. Though what I can say is that in each system, they have their own way to articulate the path to union, the path to oneness. And central to that experience, prayer and meditation. That energy of unity, or that unitive state, that oneness that we have found in all the traditions we covered. That state that Charles Fillmore called realization. That state of realization, which is the goal of the affirmative prayer that we teach in unity. To realize our oneness. Charles actually was very interested in the Hindu teachings. His understanding of their system of thought really informed the development of the 12 powers through his studies and his understanding. And there's other paths to prayer through the Hindu tradition that we've woven into our Western way of doing things. Things like the Kirtan. If you know what a Kirtan is, it's a musical gathering, usually on a spiritual theme with everyone singing, and usually singing things like the repetition of holy names. Ring a bell this morning with holy words or themes or qualities, or using prayer beads. And some of this you will find in the tradition. Some of this was in Sufism. Some of this was in Christianity. You will find many of this cross-cultural, has slightly different interpretations, but we use the same energy, the same concepts. And one of them is the Om, which has its root in Hinduism, and it is a sacred mantra. A sound that contains within it the forward-moving energy of the universe. It's actually the sound of creation, preservation, and destruction. That creative power. There is such diversity within Hinduism that when I try to even think about looking at the fifth principle, I think of things like they live this energy. The Om becomes part of their life. The prayer beads become part of their life. The rituals, the pilgrimages, the acts, the things they do in the world become part of their life. Many of things that I have not even mentioned become part of their life. And yet, there's some within Hinduism who they mean nothing to. It is a diverse community of thought. You cannot say that every Hindu practices prayer beads. You cannot say that every Hindu practices yoga. It is a diverse community of thought, and their teachings leave space for so much diversity. Sound familiar? You're encouraged here in unity to leave space for the diversity of finding what it is that works for you and putting that into practice in your life. But it requires that you choose a path. And that is part of Hinduism. You are required to choose a path with the idea that all of life is sacred. Choose it and walk it. You have heard me quote, and will probably continue to hear me quote, many great Hindu teachers, from Sri Ram, no, Sri Ram Krishna Paramahansa, Swami Vivekananda, Paramahansa Yogananda. As soon as I go to say the names, they disappear, but when I say them not here, they don't. And there'll be many others that you will hear about in the future, because I believe in the unity in our diversity. I believe these perennial teachings that show up throughout all of our paths are what we are about in unity. What we are about is embracing our oneness. And that's why you will see people from many, many walks of life feel welcome here at a Unity Church, because wherever you are at on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. So there's two other traditions that trace their origins back to the Indian subcontinent that I should probably mention. One is Jainism. Jainism originated probably back into the 6th century BCE, and it holds nonviolence as its fundamental tenet. It also has a really, really strong, one might even say extreme, aesthetic. There is quite a bit in there about the aesthetic tradition and a monastic community and some of the things that they put the physical body through can be quite extreme. And then there's the newest tradition, which is Sikhism. Born in the 15th century, very recent, around 1499, in northwest India. There was a lot going on in this region. It's referred to as the gateway to India because it's a lot of trade routes and passages that flow through there. So what you will find within this tradition is a much more universalistic approach, very similar to unity. And it's born of both Muslim and Hindu teachings. According to Paul, the term Sikh literally means disciple, one open to learn. And there is a great emphasis on listening to the message of the divine through devotion, song, chant, and virtuous living. Like Islam and like unity, Sikhism affirms that there is one God who is absolute, perfect, and transcendent, yet also immanent within all people. Having no priest, Sikhism states that each person has access to God. The core affirmation in Sikhism is Onkar Satnam, which I know I did not say correctly, but the meaning to it is God is one, truth is his name. God is one. Truth, capital T, truth is his name. So let's bring this to a close. As we explore this journey, what we're really about is exploring, what do we believe? What's true for each and every one of us? So let's take that exploration into a time of meditation. I invite Angela to come forward and join me on the platform with some music that supports us as we journey into a time of meditation. I invite you, if you're comfortable, to consider closing your eyes, placing your feet on the ground, and focus your awareness on your breathing. Check your body for any tension. And as you release your breath, let go of the tension. Let your body relax. Let whatever you are residing on fully support you right here and right now. Let go and let God. With your next breath, carry into the heart space the word I am. Breathe it in and breathe it out. And in this sacred heart space, this place of peace, I invite you to allow these words to be your words. I am an expression of God, enfolded in perfect love and peace. I am created in the image and likeness of God. I release any thought or feeling that does not support the truth of my divine nature. As I inhale deeply, I draw from an infinite wellspring of peace. I take into my innermost being a growing awareness of the peace of God. I feel loved and secure. I release any negative or unforgiving thought. I release all resistance. And one with God's peace, I welcome compassion, understanding for myself, for the people in my life. I meet any circumstance with courage, with strength, with devotion. As I pause to contemplate the peace of God in the silence. And as you bring your awareness back to these surroundings, I invite you to focus your energy on the prayer box sitting right here in front of the lectern. To use the power of your imagination to add to the names in this box those that you might be holding in your heart, who might appear to be experiencing something less than the highest good. We see these names and the names already in the box, surrounded by God's love and light. Enfolded in the one presence, the one power. We know that God already knows what is needed. And we affirm divine wisdom guiding their every thought, word, and action, and know that it is so. And that there is enough and more than enough energy right now in this moment to send to any place on this planet where there is a call for prayer. That this energy flows through each and every one of us, healing whatever needs to be healed, and goes out into the world, doing God's work, bringing forth the highest good. In this community, this city, this state, this country, this planet, for with God all things are possible. And we give thanks for answered prayer as we pray this in the name and nature of the one living presence. Amen. We now have an opportunity to share of our tithes and offerings. And at this time, we thank each and every one of you for the difference that you make, because we know Unity of Salem would not be possible without you, without your gifts of service, without your financial gifts, without the tithes that allow us to do the work that is ours to do. The gifts that come in here on Sunday, that come in through the donate button on our website, that come in through the mail, that come in through PayPal, We truly know that this is the bounty of God. And in this moment, we affirm and bless these gifts with our offertory blessing together. Divine love, flowing in, through, and as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
I promise in this moment to keep my heart wide open. With every breath I take, I'm grateful. I promise in this moment to keep my heart wide open. With every breath I take, I'm grateful. I am 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 grateful. I promise in this moment to keep my heart wide open. With every breath I take, I'm grateful. I promise in this moment to keep my heart wide open. With every breath I take, I'm grateful. I am 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 grateful. I promise in this moment to keep my heart wide open. With every breath I take, I'm grateful.
I invite Clay to bring our offerings forward and place them here on the altar. We are truly grateful, for we know that this is the bounty of God. We bless these gifts and send them forth with wisdom, with joy, to do God's work. And we give thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Amen. Thank you, Clay. If we could all now stand and place our hands on our hearts as we sing our closing song, We Are a Circle.
We are a circle, connected
And we feel that connection. If you are interested in prayer, please know that I will be available right up here after the service to pray with you. And we now close with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And thank you, God, and we are blessed always. Namaste.